In today's video, we'll be going over the current conditions, the upcoming severe weather that we have over the next few days, and the upcoming pattern where a lot of flip-flopping is going to occur. So let's just go ahead and break down the current conditions and get straight into it. There's actually a lot of storminess ongoing, and the interesting thing is it's kind of sparsely all over the place, really. I mean, quite frankly, it's not widespread by any means anywhere, really, but you can tell that there's just a lot of storminess scattered about the United States at this point. Mostly in the northern half of the country. You'll notice that down here in the southern third, at least, there's not really anything going on for the most part. Maybe Florida has some activity down there. We'll zoom in a little bit later on and take a look, but it looks like it's mostly the northern two-thirds, I would say, and mostly the northwest, actually. But let's go ahead and zoom into the northwest and just start things out here. We do have some isolated showers. Some of those even appear like they could be thunderstorms here for Washington and Oregon. We also have some more wintry type precipitation going on as you move a little bit further east towards the Rockies in Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming. That's mostly high elevation snowfall and probably low elevation cold rain. So again, that's going to be more of a wintry type storm that's ongoing as you move a little bit further east out here. So for these regions here is where I was talking about if it wasn't on screen. We do see a little bit of snowfall moving southward into Utah and Nevada, so that's worth noting as well, but it is pretty light and not very widespread, just like pretty much everything else. Now, for the north central United States, we do have these heavier showers ongoing throughout these regions. Even thunderstorms probably ongoing for these regions where there is a lot of instability, very, very heavy precipitation. This is all indicative of thunderstorm activity. Even up into here, I would say it's probably some isolated and scattered thunderstorms perhaps from northern North Dakota and portions of Minnesota as well. Now, as we move further south here, we can see where the really bad thunderstorms are ongoing. Especially here on kind of the western half of what I've just drew. We see a lot of severe thunderstorm warnings coming in for Kansas there overnight. So we have had some very strong thunderstorms in this area, and this is all just going to lead towards that severe weather we're seeing a little bit later on. Today appears like it probably is going to be the worst day out of the upcoming severe weather overall. So we're going to take a look at the Storm Prediction Center at the end of this video where we'll really break down all of those things. So be sure to stay tuned for that. You can always use the slider bar down below to just skip right to where you want to get. That's always an option as well. Now, as we take a look here towards the interior eastern United States, as I like to call it, or the Ohio Valley and kind of the Appalachian Mountains is, another way to describe it. We do see that there is quite a bit of showery activity. Did my drawing just get smaller, or am I actually tripping right now? No, it literally did get smaller. I don't know how that happened. Okay. Got a little bit smaller there for a second. I want to make sure everybody can see what I'm talking about here. We have some showers here for Tennessee, Kentucky, Ohio, West Virginia, North Carolina. And these are mostly lighter and very, very scattered around. So this should be ending as the daytime temperatures warm up and we reach the middle of the day, I would say. These should be really becoming a lot more sparse and eventually, just dissipating entirely. We do have some lighter showers and isolated thunderstorms moving northward towards the Florida Panhandle, even towards coastal Alabama and coastal Mississippi as well. And these are going to be most likely impacting these regions mostly, unless they become more widespread. We do have, for the second day in a row, potential thunderstorms just moving around for Florida. Thunderstorms are always a possibility, obviously, for Florida this time of year. And sure enough, that looks to be potentially taking place here this morning into a little bit later this morning as well. As we move northward, we can see there's still a little bit of a wintry storm happening here in Maine, where we have snowfall for the northern portions of the state, and then we have rainfall here for the more coastal regions of the state. But it's probably a very cold rain, so a very wintry storm here for Maine. This is very typical this time of year to still be lingering in those winter-like conditions. But summer is quickly approaching, so that's good news for some of you guys up there. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to move on. We're just going to move on to the upcoming pattern, talk about the upcoming storms, the temperature pattern, total rainfall, total snowfall, and then we're going to eventually break down the Storm Prediction Center for the next few days, like I mentioned before. Now, here is the upcoming stormy pattern. We can see that storminess up there in the northwest, or storms still up there in the northeast, some storminess here in the central United States. As time moves on, as we reach towards this afternoon, we can see a lot more activity picking up for the central United States, and this is going to be a lot of our severe weather throughout the day today. We have a 991 millibar low pressure center, which is a very strong low for this time of year, actually. We have quite a bit of snowfall still lingering for the Rockies, so this is all going to be going on for quite a while. And look at this storm, 993 millibar low pressure center. really getting its act together here. A bit of a warm front up there. So probably warm air surging in ahead of that cold front just like that. You can tell that it tilts in. This cold is really pushing in fast. So this is an intense look for this storm. And what this does to the jet stream is it makes it do something like this. So that's what we're seeing with the jet stream. Very warm air able to make its way northward though, here out ahead of the cold front like I mentioned. And that cold front's not going to be super potent. It's not going to really bring, frigid temperatures, but it is going to take us away from this brief warm up that we see. Cold air heading in behind, and we do have a lot of activity along that cold front still, even though the low pressure system has really just weakened to a 1006 millibar low pressure center, bringing a lot of snowfall up there for Canada as well, worth mentioning. That's by Sunday afternoon. By the time we reach Monday afternoon, we already get our next storm. So 998 millibar low pressure center, bringing a lot of storminess here to the central United States again. Potential severe weather for the southern end. Potential snowfall up here on the northern end, if not a colder rain, like some of our other storms that we've mentioned. We see this cold front dangling down, warm front out ahead potentially. Although I'm not sure about that warm front, but the cold front is definitely there. Where we see some colder air able to make its way in. Let's continue on with this. That reaches the eastern seaboard here, as you can see. And by this point, it's pretty evident that was a cold front because we do have a jet stream that looks about like this. But still, look, I mean, we're getting really deep into the spring, and now, even when there's a cold front, we're still looking at relatively decent temperatures here in the eastern United States. So that's just a sign of, how far into spring we really are. And then by the time we're reaching about 8 p.m. on Friday, May 6th, we see that there's a 998 millibar low pressure center basically over Iowa here, bringing storminess to the surrounding regions there. And that really brings just a ton of storminess for the eastern half of the country by the time we're reaching May 8th, as it develops into a 992 millibar low pressure center. And we get a lot of storminess here in the east, a lot of storminess here in the west. So activity is relatively, for the next 10 days, I think things are going to be really picking up in activity, it appears, where there's just going to be a much more active period here. So that's definitely worth noting, I would say. Let's go ahead and move on and talk about the total precipitation here. And really, we can see that a majority of this precipitation is going to be happening where these storms really are at their lowest pressure, which is over the central United States. They're most intense here. They develop, obviously, east of the Rockies, and then they kind of move through and then move into the eastern United States, but they're at their peak about here. So from Louisiana northward to Minnesota. Some of them were further north, obviously. Some of them were further south. We saw about 3 or 4 low pressure systems come through. But they really peaked in this area, which is pretty typical, actually. And we get the most precipitation for this area where the storms were the strongest, and every single one moved over them. Now, I'm just going to break down the color. You can find your area and just find what color you're in and then listen for what I'm saying here. But the gray is going to be anything 0.1 or below. Whites are basically where no precipitation is expected over the next 10 days. Your greens is going to be 0.1 to 0.5 inches. Blues will be a half an inch to an inch. Your yellows will be 1 inch to 2 inches. Reds will be 2 to 5 inches of rainfall. So we see a lot of that for those areas, like I said, where the low is going to be the strongest. And then your browns is going to be 5 to 10 inches, which is really where these low pressure systems peak, right in here. Where we get the most precipitation. Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska seems to be the bullseye for most precipitation and highest flooding chance over the next 10 days. I would say some of this even spreads into the Ohio Valley there. I don't know why I struggle to say that so bad. But something like that, I would say, is basically the bullseye according here to this European model. Now, for the total snowfall here, because a lot of people are still curious about this, you can see things are really lightening up. We just got our most recent snowfall, and less snowfall is expected in the long range. So we're starting to see this really just dry up. And I'm going to keep posting this until there's basically nothing, but we're gonna watch really as spring arrives and summer begins to move in, and we're eventually going to see nothing on this. So over the next month or month and a half, we're going to see this develop from what we're looking at now to all white across the board, which is crazy to think about. If you're anywhere in the grays, you're at a dusting, if anything. Blues will be 2 to 6 inches of snowfall. Purples will be 6 to 10. Your pinks are going to be 10 to 20. And then your pastels are going to be 20 to 48 inches plus. So really, almost all the snowfall occurs here within this region, which is your typical region to see snowfall. And it's all basically in high elevation anyway. We do get a little bit of lower elevation snowfall taking place there and also for here. But a lot of this is expected to occur over the next 3 or 4 days. So once we're past that, I bet we're only going to really see Rockies and cascade snowfall, which is going to be really a sign of us moving far into the spring. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to move on and we're going to take a look at that upcoming temperature pattern, and then we have a ton to go over the Storm Prediction Center. So here's the temperature pattern right now. We have cold in the west, warm in the central, cold in the east. So we're at like a double dip trough, I would say, here, and then one singular ridge here in the middle. As we move on with this, we're going to see that things begin to warm up really rapidly for the east. This warm up moves further eastward like this. A cool down moves in here. And we're really seeing everything progress from west to east. And eventually we get to a pattern where most of the warm air is within this area that I just drew, and most of the cold air is within this northern area that I just drew. So we see mostly cold for the northwest and the north central United States, and then warmth for the southwestern United States, south central, and a lot of the eastern United States here. And that's by Sunday, May 1st. So as we continue on, Monday, May 2nd is also going to be really nice here for the southeast and the Gulf states. We really see a lot of that warmth still for a lot of these regions. Some cold really moving into the north central United States, actually pretty potent cold air. And that's going to eventually come alongside a cold front, obviously. By the time we're reaching Tuesday, May 3rd, we're still in a warm up here for the east. So we're going to have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, very, very warm for these eastern United States. Even Wednesday, the eastern seaboard will still be dealing with the warmth, but obviously we see this cold encroaching on our warm-up, and we'll have to see what happens with that, because by Thursday, there is some near normal temperatures moving into the eastern United States, but not quite cold yet, and that's by Thursday, May 5th. Friday, May 6th. Look at how much warmer things look than even just yesterday. If you tuned in with us yesterday and you're tuning in today, I mean, things looked cold in the long range as of yesterday, but Friday, May 6th, very, very warm in the east. Saturday, May 7th, there is some colder pockets. This is when there's a lot of precipitation, remember? Right at the end of the model run, remember, it got very stormy in the east when we were just looking at the precipitation. That can lead towards some areas seeing some colder temperatures if there's cloudy and rainy conditions. Obviously, it's not going to be able to get to, 90 degrees like it would on a sunny day. So that's why you're seeing some of these blue areas there. It's still storminess around here, but we do see some dynamic cooling here for Sunday, May 8th. And that lingers in towards that evening, and that's basically the end of the model run. But we do see some of that colder air making its way in, but I think this is mostly associated with the precipitation. It's going to be interesting to see how that long range plays out, but that looked a lot warmer than it did before, I will say that. So what we're going to do is we're going to move on, and now we're going to take a look at the Storm Prediction Center. Now here's the day one categorical outlook. If you're anywhere in the lighter green, we can see 3 of those. That's where we have general thunderstorm risk. Nothing can ever be ruled out, but that is where we expect general thunderstorms to take place and no severe weather. Although anything is possible, and you're going to want to heed all the watches, warnings, and advisories. It's not super rare to see severe weather happen where it's not expected. And that can even go for the white regions as well. Thunderstorms can still happen there. There's human error involved a little bit. Also, for the darker green area, that's our marginal risk, and that's where isolated severe weather is expected. The yellow area there is our slight risk region, and that is where scattered severe weather is expected. And then our orange region there for Oklahoma, Kansas, and Nebraska is where we expect widespread severe weather to take place. So that's where we expect really bad severe weather throughout the day today, although it's really possible anywhere. So pay attention to watches, warning, and advisories no matter where you're at. For the individual outlooks, this is all based on 25 miles of a given location. The green region there is going to be a 5% chance of damaging wind. Yellows will be 15% chance of damaging wind, and then your red is going to be 30% chance of damaging wind. For hail, it's almost the same thing, except we get a little bit larger here. 5% in the green, 15% in the yellow, 30% in the red, but we have that black hatched area there for a lot of different states like Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, and Nebraska. And that is where 2-inch diameter or larger hail is expected to be possible. So we're going to be on the watch for very, very large hail. And then also for our tornado outlook, we have a 2% in the green, 5% in the brown, 10% in the yellow there, where we also have a hatched area for the tornadoes, where you have 3, 4, and 5 tornadoes will not be able to be ruled out. So we think that there's basically the ingredients there for very large tornadoes throughout the day today, Friday, May 29th. So that is why we have a pretty elevated tornado outlook here. For day 2, we have 2 general thunderstorm risks there in the light green again. No severe weather is expected, but heed every watch, warning, and advisory. We also have the marginal risk there in the darker green, where isolated severe weather is expected for the Ohio Valley. And then the yellow area there, where slight risk is there, where we have our scattered severe weather expected within that region. For the individual outlooks for day 2, which is Saturday, April 30th, We see here for the wind outlook, we have a 5% chance in the brown. Again, all based on within 25 miles of a given location. Then the yellow area is going to be our 15% chance area. Our hail outlook is the same thing, 5% in the green, 15% in the yellow. And then the tornado outlook here, we have a 2% there in the green, and then a 5% chance there within the brown for areas in Illinois, Indiana, and Wisconsin. That also includes Chicago, which is pretty interesting. For day 3, we have 2 marginal risk areas in the darker greens. We have the slight risk there in the yellow, where we expect scattered severe weather. And we also have a very large general thunderstorm risk area where a lot of people could see thunderstorms on Sunday, May 1st. And then we have an extended outlook here for May 2nd on day 4. We have a slight risk expected for northern Texas, portions of Oklahoma, and a little bit of southern Kansas there for areas near Oklahoma City, Dallas-Fort Worth area. That's where we expect to have a slight risk for Monday, May 2nd, all within that yellow region. Anyway, for today's confidence tab, I still feel like I need one more day until I'm ready to up the confidence. Unless things significantly change, I think we're moving closer to where I can move up in confidence because the pattern will be much more locked in. But for now, 4 out of 6 is kind of where I want to stay for now. For today's patron highlight of the day, I want to thank you all for supporting the channel, but especially our platinum patrons, Bill Crates, James Wade, Dovey Nagel, Little the Pan, Mandy Birchfield, Patrick Strickland, Dave Scott, and Donna Carnes as well. I would also thank our diamond patrons, Bill Roberts, Marcus Connolly, Noah Harley, Michael Kodalasa, Catbite, Charleston It, Bill Dallas, Gary's, and John Khaleesi also. I'd also thank our channel members, Catbite, Stephen Fan, and Jeremy Cox as well. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to smash that like button, leave a comment down below, and subscribe for more weather-related content. I'll see you guys in the next video.